Call the June 9th, 2024 meeting of the City of Winter Haven Planning Commission to order. Heather, if you would, please take roll.
David Lane, Mario Manigo.
Here.
Elizabeth Davis, Rick Hemingway, Wendy Venters, Colin Wells.
Here.
Ed Smith.
Here.
Tina Summerlin. Here. Craig Fuller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would, please stand for the pledge and the invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time together and the opportunity to serve the City of Winter Haven. We ask that you be with us and help guide us. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of the previous meeting? If so, we'll entertain a vote or a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Minutes from the last
All right,
one.
we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, minutes are approved. Okay, I will move into a brief explanation of how the hearing will be held. Cases will be read into the record, and city staff will provide a presentation. Commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff. Once commissioners have had an opportunity to ask their questions, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak for or against a case, starting with the applicant, may do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. Once everybody from the public has had an opportunity to speak or ask questions, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing, where commissioners can ask additional questions, or we will entertain a motion and a vote. If you think you may speak for or against a case, if you would please stand now and Heather will swear you in.
Doesn't mean you have to, even if you have an inkling, you might. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you shall give in tonight's case shall be the truth? All right, thank you.
All right. We will move right into old business. Case number P-24-6-S, request by JSK Consulting for special use approval for personal storage in the Commercial Highway C3 zoning district. General location, a portion of a parcel located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Eloise Loop Road, Thompson Nursery Road, West Lake Ruby Drive, and Coon Lake Road. The area covered by this request is 7 ± acres.
All right, Heather Whiter, Senior Planner for the record. Before you on the screen is the zoning map. As you can see, this request is a portion of a large parcel that is zone C3, surrounding zoning at the intersections of Eloise Loop Road, Lake Ruby, and Thompson Nursery Road. All are C3. To the west is PI designation for a church, and then there's single-family residential to the south and southeast. As you look at the aerial, as you can see, it is a vacant tract of land that is undeveloped currently. This is a view standing looking at the property. This is looking to the west. This is looking across to the north to the Fire Station 3 and the city's Pocket Park. This is looking to the east. A little bit of background. JSK Consulting is the petitioner and requests the Planning Commission grant special use approval for personal storage in the Commercial Highway C3 zoning district. The subject property, totaling 7 acres, is a portion of a parcel generally located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Eloise Loop Road, Thompson Nursery Road, West Lake Ruby Drive, and Coon Lake Road. The petitioner proposes to develop the property with personal storage. Personal storage is permitted by special use approval in the C3 zoning district. Based on the non-intensive nature of the proposed use, minimal impacts on supporting infrastructure are expected. Additionally, the use of property for personal storage represents a significant reduction in public infrastructure demands from the maximum potential commercial permitted by the C3 zoning district. As this is a new development, a site plan review will be required, and concurrency for water, sewer, and transportation will be determined at that time. Upon review of this request, the following conclusions have been reached. The development of the subject property for personal storage instead of other more intense uses permitted in C3 will decrease the demands on public infrastructure. Additionally, the proposed personal storage will be developed on the southern portion of the parcel, which will provide a buffer between the single-family residential to the south and the more intense C3 usage, which will be developed on the northern portion of this parcel. And the addition of personal storage on the subject property will support the developed or proposed residential units located within a short distance of the site, potentially reducing the number and length of vehicle trips onto the supporting roadway network. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve this case, subject to the conditions listed in your published agenda packet. And this is a conceptual plan that was provided. I stand for any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions? No? All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak for or against this case, starting with the applicant, please step forward. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Matthew Johnson. I am on JSK Consulting. I'm the applicant. Our address is 5904 Hillside Heights, Lakeland, Florida, 33812. I apologize about that. I'm joined here by the developer, Randy Knapp's also in the audience from RLK Development. I know this is, been a long day for everyone, and I do have a lot of facts to review with you guys if you have any questions, but the city staff has been a pleasure to work with. And I do want to say that for the record, the incredible team here. And as mentioned, this is a big reduction in the impacts to the infrastructure that is what, as opposed to what is currently allowed. I think the original master plan contemplated up to 500 units here for a multifamily. And obviously that has a big impact on schools, on water, on traffic. We are literally a tenth of the traffic generation. I think the only other use that is less than us is a graveyard. So we have, a very little traffic. We don't have any impact on the education system, almost no water and no sewer. So I do stand for any questions, and I appreciate everyone's time greatly.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Matthew, just before you go, yeah, I was wondering, with the site plan, it looks like you're using the, call it northwest corner and the south half, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
And so I was wondering, northeast corner, is it being subdivided, or is that like for a future phase? What would be the intent there?
Very good question. Our client is only purchasing the area outlined in red. It's being subdivided.
Okay.
And there is another commercial development through another development that's going on the corner. As mentioned, it's a more intense commercial use, and our personal storage is a great transition from that more intensive commercial use to the neighborhood behind us.
Gotcha. It'd almost be like a buffer.
Correct,
sort
yes,
of.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the special use approval, if granted, would be subject to this as shown on the conceptual plan and would not apply to the rest of the property. If they were to develop that later with that, they would come before the spot.
It would be another
Yes.
required. Okay, that's what I was leading to. Thanks.
Very good question. Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate it. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this case? No? All right, we will close the public portion and reopen the planning portion. Any additional questions from commissioners? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion in favor of, let me find the number, case number P-24-06-S, a request by JSK Consulting for special use approval for personal storage in the commercial highway C3 zoning district, general location of a portion of a parcel located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Eloise Loop Road, Thompson Nursery Road, West
Lake Ruby Drive and Coon Lake Road area covered by this request is 7 more or less acres as presented by staff and within the sheet.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. All right, moving on to new business, case number P-24-10-S, request by Catherine Vega for special use approval for a child care facility in the commercial downtown C1 zoning district, general location 236 Avenue D Southwest. The area covered by this request is .28 plus or minus acres.
All right, so the applicant requested to withdraw this item after it had been advertised, so that we would ask for a motion to table this item.
Okay, I will make a motion to table case number P-24-10-S.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, case is tabled. Case number P-24-30 and P-24-31, request by Peterson and Myers, PA, to assign neighborhood suburban future land use to an annexed parcel and to assign multifamily residential low-density R3 zoning district to an annexed parcel. General location, a parcel generally located north of Ware Avenue Northeast and south of Lake Smart. The area covered by this request is 56.74 plus or minus acres.
This is the future land use map. As you can see, the subject property there is located south of Lake Smart, north of Ware Avenue. In the immediate area, there is traditional neighborhood area surrounding the property. As you look at the zoning map, there is surrounded on its west and southern side with single-family residential small lot R2. And as you go around Lake Smart, there are several properties that are zoned R3, which is the request for assignment today. As you look at the aerial map, this is orange groves that are currently there, and also Duke power lines currently run through the property as well. Again, single family surrounding the area, a church also to the south, and additional orange groves to the east. This is a view of the subject property looking north from Ware Avenue. As you look to the east, down to the southeast, to the southwest, and to the west. Shelton Rice requests the city assign neighborhood suburban future land use and multifamily residential low-density R3 zoning district to an annexed parcel. The parcel totals 56.74 acres and is generally located north of Ware Avenue and south of Lake Smart. The subject property currently consists of citrus groves. The parcel was annexed into the city April 8, 2024. The petitioner proposes to develop the property at approximately 3.7 units per acre with 210 single-family residential units. Properties zoned R3 and located in the central urban core are permitted to be developed with up to 15 units per acre. However, when R3 development standards, right-of-ways, stormwater requirements, and existing Duke Energy easements are considered, it would be unlikely for the subject property to be developed at the maximum permitted density. As these requests contain a large-scale future land use amendment reviewed by the Florida, actually it's Department of Commerce now, and other state and local agencies is required. Just as a touch again on the surrounding uses, there are, across Lake Smart, there are 2 townhome developments, both Winter Ridge and Lake Point Landing, and also 1 multifamily development, Villas at Lake Smart, with the R3 zoning designation. And there is, based on the potential demands of the proposed development, there is sufficient infrastructure to support it, as well as if it were to be developed at the maximum. But obviously, that will be taken care of at final concurrency determination when the property receives site plan approval and is developed. So staff does yield the following conclusions when reviewing this request. The assignment of neighborhood suburban future land use in R3 zoning district is consistent with surrounding uses and designations, and there is sufficient public infrastructure capacity to accommodate the proposed development as well as the maximum theoretical development under R3. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of this request, and it's forwarding to the City Commission for final action. I stand for any questions that you may have.
Heather, I've got one. Is the entry going to be off of Ware Avenue? I see 11th Street Northeast, but that looks like a dirt road
Yeah.
almost.
So the access point would be on to Ware. The way that we looked at the trip counts is the majority of them would head south and out on to Martin Luther King Boulevard. And then we accounted for about 25% would head west down Ware into Avenue Y to hit Lucerne Park Road. So that's where the trip counts would be.
Just as a comparison, because I see it was recently annexed, and we're just trying to make things equal. So I see we're bringing in it at an R3. Is that comparable to the RL3 that it appears to be previously?
Yes,
With-
it
with
would
Polk
be,
County?
yes, it would be, and again, it is to allow both R2 and R3 allow a minimum 50-foot lot, so there's not much difference on that as we look at it. It's just to make better use of the land with those Duke easements that ran through the property.
Ah, yes, right. Mhm. Okay.
Any additional questions? No. All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, starting with the applicant, we'll bring you up in just a moment. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Commission. For the record, my name is Bart Allen. I'm a land use attorney with the Peterson and Myers Law Firm. My address is 225 East Lemon Street, Lakeland, Florida. Happy to be here this evening. I am filling in for Mr. Rice. Mr. Rice happens to be in Sumter County this evening at a public hearing, so we're kind of dividing and conquering as the case may be. Mr. Reuter and staff have given you a very good overview of this case. We do have a PowerPoint presentation, but I don't intend to get into it, seeing as I left it in my car, because I just came from Highlands County from another hearing. So, but that being said, this request is exactly what y'all are describing. It is to go to the neighborhood suburban future land use classification. We are looking at actual development in that 3.5 dwelling unit per acre with the R3 zoning. The R3 zoning is in the surrounding areas as was shown by staff. It's also very consistent with the PDs that have been developed in the adjacent areas, and not immediately adjacent, but the surrounding areas. So we feel like this development is appropriate, or this land use and zoning classification is appropriate for this property. The big issue, and one of the reasons why we are going to the R3, is that Duke easement. It is about 100-foot wide. It runs all along the south boundary and all the way up the west boundary of this particular piece of property. So it's about 6 acres of the 56-acre total site, and that creates a lot of issues when you start talking about what you can develop and what you can and can't do underneath the easement, crossing the easement, things of that nature. Access is in all likelihood going to be on Ware Avenue, as was pointed out by staff as well. We are here. We'll stand for any questions. It looks like there's some folks here that would like to speak, and I'd request a few moments to talk after the fact.
Craig, if you would.
So yeah, I think this is, I don't mean to guess what I think questions are, but it's always, if it's a slightly different construction or slightly different development than exists directly adjacent to it, they're always asking, setbacks. So west side, you're saying, what's the width of the?
It's approximately 100 feet that run, and I don't know that I have a cursor, but if you're looking at the screen that's there, along the south boundary, that red line along Ware Avenue has 100-foot of Duke easement that we cannot develop in. We can cross for purposes of ingress and egress at a 90-degree angle, but we cannot develop underneath it. And then all along the western boundary, moving north, basically to that, where the church property is adjacent to our western boundary, there is the Duke easement there. And again, same restrictions would apply. So we'll have a 100-foot setback off the property line on those two sides at minimum by virtue of that easement.
So I gather those are like transmission as opposed to distribution and.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Please come up to the podium.
Good evening, my name is Stephanie Gaskin. I live on 9th lane that's a part of the area, and it's hard to see unless someone was using the cursor to point to the area you're talking, because I'm not too familiar with development points. But my concern is, you saying the access is from the 200 and some proposed homes, and it's gonna be coming out on where? That's gonna be a major impact. Major impact. If you go down if they exit and go down 9th Street, 9th Court, and you already got Jewett School of Arts, that traffic on that road already is heavy. I'm just bringing up some items that, based on what you're sharing tonight, because, I mean, it's gonna be hard for whatever you develop. Someone need to come up with some other ways of access in and out. And I live on a dead-end part of it, and all those Duke poles that they have up now, ever since they have installed those, my service, I have to go outside and make a phone call. I brought that up several times, too. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Heather, if I can just ask a question.
Yep.
This is strictly assigning zoning to an annexed parcel. Any future development or whatever takes place here will have to come back for site plan approval and go through DOT.
Yes.
Traffic
So yes,
studies, all
this
that
is
good
just
stuff.
assigning to the annex parcel, which we are required to do, and put on a comparable zoning district from what was in the county and what is consistent with the city designations in the area. When it goes to development, it will go through site plan. At that time, if the traffic study and counts show that there's deficiencies and they have to do improvements or provide different improvements for the access and different things, all of that would be addressed during that time.
Right, okay. I just wanted to make sure we had that out for everybody.
I was also going to add, a comp plan contains a policy, and given the size of the property and the vacant properties adjacent to it, they're going to have to provide right-of-way stub outs to the east and west, and that would help facilitate a future roadway potentially that would run east-west across this property and ultimately off towards 11th Street and points east and Lucerne Park Road. So there could be opportunities to disperse that traffic even further than what's out there today.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Barbara Julian. My address is 3623 Julius Estates Boulevard. I do live on the lake. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing to.
It's just off the
To the
street.
right,
To the north.
I live
Yep.
to the right.
Okay.
And we moved here 7 years ago, and we built a house on the lake. This is the last lake of 23 lakes. It's supposed to be quiet. We paid $20,000 premium, and we were guaranteed there's going to be no houses or anything built across the lake. Our problem now is on 544, when we're trying to come out of Lake Smart, we can't get out there anymore. There's so much traffic. And if you want to go to Walgreens and pick up a prescription, it takes you forever to get out of our place, let alone when it's time for school and the buses. So if you have an appointment down the street at the doctor, you got to leave at least an hour and a half early to get out of this traffic. And it's just getting to be a bit much because they're building way down the way. They're building apartments everywhere. I don't understand why they can't pick a different parcel. If they want to be on the lake, they should pay a premium, just like I did. Right now, we have a gazebo down the way that has a dock. We all have our own docks, and they want us to pay $400 for a $127,000 redo of that gazebo, which this has nothing to do with it. But I'm just saying that, all of a sudden, everything's exploding, and I don't know. I'm against it. And so are a lot of our neighbors. I'm speaking for a lot of people that live along the lake. And we were promised and we were guaranteed by D.R. Horton, don't worry, no one's going to build there. They looked it up and said, nope, it's wildlife, it's orange groves, and it's going to stay beautiful forever. So we gave them our money and we built the house. And just my main complaint is there's going to be a lot of boating traffic, along with a lot of the planes that land on our lake because it's a quiet lake. So we'll probably have a lot of people that are going to be jet skiing. It's just going to be a busy lake like everything else. So our quietness is going to be gone. We can't get out of our apartment, our housing complex. So that's our complaint. And I don't know if it's going to do, because people with a lot of money that are going to be able to build whatever they want, as opposed to us little minions that live along the lake. But this is just what I have to say, along with a lot of other people that I come to represent that live along the lake. Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Please state your name and address for the record.
Nancy Rittenhouse, 3627 Julius Estates Boulevard, and we live next door. And we obviously then are on the lake and have our own dock and all of that stuff. Our biggest concern, we've lived there 2 years, our biggest concern is that, like Barbara said, trying to get out and turn left already. Lucerne is right directly across from us. There have been so many accidents already, and that's just going to be made worse by more traffic with apartment building, housing, how many people. Also, I'd like to know, it didn't say anything in the letter, how far off the lake are they planning on building?
I'm not sure we have that.
At least 40 feet from the high water mark is the rear setback. It depends on how their lots are laid out. I don't know, they're not the part of engineering, but, there could be possibility, I don't know how many lots will actually front on the lake, where their retention will be and how it will be laid out. But if there are lots that front along the lake frontage, any house would have to be 40 feet from the high water mark.
Which isn't far. Okay, and that's the area that the gentleman said that they're planning on developing right away?
Well, the whole parcel.
The entire parcel is, the request is for R3 zoning, and it was zoned residential in the county, so whoever guaranteed that it would never be developed, it's always been zoned residential for years and years and years. I'm not sure where you heard that from. But at the time that they submit for site plan review, that's when we will know exactly how it will be laid out. But the entire parcel would be slated for residential development.
Okay. Residential in itself is good, but apartments on the size of property that is potentially a ton more traffic when nothing has been done to widen roads, provide enough traffic lights to make it 544 safe. And as he said, that will come out to Lucerne also for people to travel.
Not in the immediate. We have a comp plan policy that encourages that, as Sean was saying, that east-west connection. The property owner to the west is a different property owner. And so the immediate connection, and I don't know the developer's plans, I don't know if they plan to move forward with this immediately or if it's many years off in the future, I'm not sure. But their immediate connection would be to where? But we would require them to do a road stub out so that at some point when the parcels east and west develop, we can connect them. And they can have an interconnected roadway network. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Those of us who live on the lake are very blessed, but this is alarming because those of us who live along the lake retired there. And so the thought of more traffic, that makes it even more dangerous to try and get out onto 544, let alone any place else in Winter Haven, when they're not really expanding roadways. It's very disturbing. But thank you so much.
And I-
Thank you for
I
your
would
comments.
encourage you as well, in speaking about Lucerne Park Road, the Federal Department of Transportation has a website that you can look at, and they have the PD&E study and the plans for the improvements to Lucerne Park Road. The first phase is in their 5-year work plan. They also do have a light scheduled for Lucerne Park Road and Old Lucerne Park Road on the east side that's going to be installed in their 5-year work plan. And the ultimate goal is to 4-lane that entire road. So I'd encourage you to look at that FDOT website and check out the plans for improvements to Lucerne Park Road. Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else from the public? Please state your name and address for the record.
Faye Bellamy, 2213 9th Lane Northeast. I live across from this project that's being proposed. I've been at this resident, at that particular resident, since '84. I'm against the project because of the traffic, one, and fortunately, it has been quite a quiet area, and I don't invite additional people to come in that area. I know businesses, the firm or whoever it is, aiming at making as much money as they can, and people are looking for places to stay. But they need to take the project somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Good evening. It's just me. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I am Franklin R. Jackson I. I am a lifelong resident of Winter Haven, Florida. I reside at 2214 Marty Court Northeast, Winter Haven, Florida, zip 33881. And as I look at this project, I understand that there is a severe shortage of housing in Polk County, particularly in this area. I know it's growing very fast, and everyone needs a quiet and a safe place to live. But we can all work together and make that happen. But from what I see, and I live 1 block away from Ware Avenue. I live on Marty Court. I live a block away from Ware Avenue, and it's already difficult to get in and out. On Lucerne Park Road, where Ware Avenue meets Lucerne Park Road, just as the young lady was talking about, there is always a bottle jam there, all the way from First Street and Dr. King, all the way back to Highway 27. We've been to meeting after meeting and asked the Department of Transportation to put a traffic light there to no avail. We're talking 5 years down the road, but we live there every day. You know, they're in the office for 5 years telling us that 5 years down the road, you know, we're thinking about, you know, doing something about your traffic. When you add more traffic, and I am a proponent of living the American dream. I love to see young people have houses and be invested in real estate of their own so they can build generational wealth. Just like the city likes to build wealth into their coffers, we want to see young people stay in the city, have a nice place to live so they can build wealth and have equity in their establishment. It's good to have apartments, but it's better to have houses. I'm looking at the density, and it says 2.5 or 2.7, but it also says up to, if I'm not mistaken, it says up to 15 units. So where is the guarantee that it's going to be 2.5 instead of 15? Who makes that decision? As economics change, the decision could be made that we need to do 15 units, and that's an apartment complex. So we're hearing maybes, and we're concerned about our neighborhood. I've been there since 1978, and it's a quiet and peaceful neighborhood. And the people that live there are invested in that neighborhood because we have police officers, public servants, educators, and they're there because they're invested in the neighborhood. So I would like to see more people invested in the neighborhood, but we all can work together. Sending all the traffic down Ware Avenue is not a good solution. We also have coming, the city is currently in development of a nice park. And in that park is going to draw human beings. And human beings are going to have to cross Lucian Park Road or Ware Avenue to get there. So I don't know what can be done. I'm not a traffic engineer or a traffic designer, but I know if this works, it's going to have to be more planning, more work. And as far as the 100-foot right-of-way, what are we going to see, and what is the value of these homes that they plan on building? Well, what is the price point? How much green space are we going to have if the development happens? When we come up 9th Street, 9th Court, going north, are we going to be looking at a great big wall, like we're walled in a compound? Or the houses are going to be affordable to the average person? Or are they going to be luxury houses? We don't know. We want to see our area improve, but we want it to improve so everybody can take part in it and be comfortable to a point. We have to have some compromises. And the last thing, community stability. We want to see community stability. We want to encourage the young people to stay here because we have a problem here in Winter Haven with young people, they grow up and they leave because housing and opportunities. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Anyone else from the public? Go ahead.
I'm Barbara Julian again. Okay, I don't know if you can answer this question or have any idea. They keep raising our taxes and raising our taxes. We paid off our house 5 years ago, and we pay $7,000 a year for taxes. And I just want to know, if we're going to get more people, are they going to redo the taxes so that they can pick up some of what we're paying? I mean, it's just getting to a point where every year it goes up more and more. So what's the sense of paying off your house when you have the same amount that you have to pay in taxes? So, I mean, $7,000 a year is a lot of money. We live on the lake, we paid the premium, you know, we got a good deal on the house, but all of a sudden, the taxes went from $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000, now we're at $7,000. So, I don't know, I know that being a realtor in Minnesota, that the more houses that are built, they redo the taxes, and then they reduce my tax, and then everyone else, am I saying that right? To accommodate.
Yeah, I understand.
You know what I
Equivalize.
mean? Yeah.
Unfortunately,
You
we're
don't
the
know.
wrong
can-
group on that. Eric
and
can
I-
probably help with
I
that
can
one a little
tack- I
bit.
can tackle
And-
that.
And just so that we all live in the city limits too, so we're all Winter Haven taxpayers as
Yeah.
well. So
I can
We're-
tackle
we're right
that
there
a
with
little
you.
bit. I can tackle that a little bit.
Yeah.
The city commission actually reduced the millage rate in the city, I think it was 2 years ago, by about a quarter of a mil or a half a mil. The city commission actually voted to reduce taxes in the city of Winter Haven recently. The reason the taxes are going up is because property values are rising, which is, you know, a double-edged sword. You pay more taxes, but you also get more equity in your home. I get it. What we've been doing on the economic development side is actually trying not to encourage an overabundance of single-family residential homes, because that doesn't add to your coffers very much, to be honest with you. We just received from the property appraiser the 2024 ad valorem assessments within the city of Winter Haven, and the top three income producers for the city our 3 industries that we recruited to the area for that very purpose, so that we could gain more taxable value. The top 3, it's Florida Can Manufacturing. It's a new 1.2 million square foot warehouse that was recently developed, and the third was Legoland. So those are 3 that we've encouraged growth and development to increase property revenue to the city, so that the city commission doesn't have to raise taxes on the people that already live here. We've been trying to do the opposite.
I'm 70 years old. I've had a brand-new house since I was 18. I have never, ever, and our last house in Minnesota was $500,000. We lived on a golf course, and we only paid $4,000 a year on taxes. I mean, I've never paid this much, and it just, every year it just gets ridiculous. So I'm just wondering if we're going to start reallotment to everyone else picking up taxes and lowering ours. It's just a simple question, because it's just getting, everything is just so different than when we moved here. Like we said about the traffic, we need at least a stop sign where we are, because traffic is coming from towards us, we're getting out, they're coming this way and that way, and then all the trucks.
Ma'am, I don't mean to
Walmart-
cut you off, but we've got to move on.
I'm sorry?
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but we have to move on.
Oh, sorry.
Eric, I'm sure Eric can help, address some of these concerns, but we can't help with property taxes.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your
Sorry.
comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public on this case? If you would, please state your name and address for the record. Did Heather swear you in? Were you here previously?
I was late, I apologize.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth?
I do. My name is Liz Chango. I live on 22039 Court. I haven't been in Winter Haven for a long time, just 8 years, but I agree with Reverend. It's a very quiet neighborhood. We do have a lot of people invested. And if there is going to be houses or apartment leading to more traffic, we definitely need more speed bumps. There's a lot of traffic as is, and it's not safe because there's a lot of children who play on the street. They're kids. But I would be against it because that's a really quiet neighborhood. It's really, and there's all kinds of people there. There's sheriffs and there's police officers, and there's a lot of people invested taking care of each other. And you see that in the good moments and the bad moments. And if there is, I don't think we could do much if there's going to be apartments or buildings or constructions, things move forward. The county is growing, but there has to be more safety for the people around. The people who've been living there for such a long time, there has to be some safety for these people. And I include myself in this. And for the children who are growing up in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
If
you
you
please
could-
wait till you get to the microphone
Yeah.
so it'll be on the record? Sorry.
Yeah, just step up to the podium and give us your
problem.
name and address.
Yes, my name is Catherine McLean. I stay at 825 Worth Avenue, Northeast Winter Haven, Florida. And I've been there around, it's about 40 years with my kids. And I noticed the traffic is getting more worse there. And therefore, we don't have a red light to Lucerne Park. And as I know, when you all wrote the letter, y'all did not explain everything in that letter about the houses and stuff that's supposed to be coming up pretty soon. And I know it's a lot of rejection on that. For all of this happened on Worth Avenue to 8 and then on the 8th Street. And I want to know really what you're going to do about really the lights, and there's so much traffic there and people having wrecks there and getting killed. And I want to know what is the situation would be.
So the traffic disbursement and the traffic safety issues are addressed at the site plan review process when we look at traffic concurrency and the impacts upon the roadway, when we actually know exactly how many homes that they're going to have in there, so we have actual data to work with. I would say that Ware Avenue, where it comes around and ties into Lucerne Park Road at Avenue Y, that from Avenue Y to Martin Luther King is the first segment of Lucerne Park Road that the FDOT is going to improve. So they will do an intersection improvement at Avenue Y in Lucerne and improve the roadway and do an intersection improvement at MLK and Lucerne Park Road. And so, again, that is in their 5-year work plan.
Okay.
It's very possible that project will happen before these houses are built. So I would, again, encourage, I don't know if you were in the room previously, I would encourage you to go to the FDOT website and look up that project, and you can see what their plans are for Lucerne Park Road.
And may I ask another question? The question is that you have so many kids running up down on Ware Avenue, driving real fast, and there's no bump there, to protect them. And they be out all time of night in necessity.
Yeah, and that's another thing that our streets team and our traffic team is always willing to, they've adopted a street calming policy. And if the residents believe that there needs to be additional street calming on their street, they can submit a request for an analysis, and our team can look at that. And they'll look at speed, they'll look at use of the road and determine if there's additional traffic calming that needs to happen on that roadway.
Okay, I thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Carly Roberts. I stay at 2442 Mary Jewett Circle. And one of the questions that I have is with that parcel, you said it's 56.7 acres. Now, is that going to be single level, or is that going to be 2-, 3-story apartments or homes, or do y'all even know that yet?
I believe we're working towards single-family homes.
Because it's such a, where my home is, it sit on somewhat on the hill, and I can see all the way over to Walmart Distribution Center. And I hate to have to lose my view of the lake because you have 2- and 3-story apartments going all the way down to the lake. And that's one of my concerns. If you're saying single-family homes, I'm more with that than a big 56-acre apartment complex, because that's going to, like they've been saying, it's going to bring a lot more traffic, and I can see also a lot more activity in the area that we necessarily don't want or necessarily need, because we have invested so much time in that. And then also, I can see it as, with all that apartment complexes, it can also decrease the value of the homes, the nice homes in that area, as far as later on in life, if we want to resell or rent out. That could cost us in the long run, because right behind us or overside to us, you have all these apartment complexes that the people that already live there do not want in the first place.
Sure.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. If I can, just to help maybe clarify, the purpose of today's meeting is that this parcel is not in the city of Winter Haven city limits. It was recently added to the city of Winter Haven in the city limits. So it does not have a Winter Haven zoning designation. And so all we're doing is assigning the zoning. We're not approving any single-family homes, apartments today. When the property developer comes back to actually build something, they'll have to come back to the staff for site plan approval. They'll have to do traffic studies. There's a lot more that will go into that process when they actually bring a development plan to the city. So you don't have to worry about apartments being built tomorrow, right? They're going to have to come back. We'll work through some of these issues additionally.
So, I'm sorry, you're going to talk all about traffic
They will have to do traffic studies, yes. All that will be done as part of the site plan approval, or site plan process. Yes, ma'am. Can you come up to the mic, please?
You mentioned that the city recently purchased that land.
No.
No.
There's-
We annexed it into the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't buy it.
Okay,
It was in the
The
county, and now it's
annexing-
part of the city of Winter Haven.
okay, did the annexing have anything to do with Duke Energy installing those humongous electrical poles that we knew nothing about?
No, ma'am.
No.
Is it right to say that the city received so many millions of dollars from that project that with Duke Energy?
The city received nothing from Duke for putting the lines on this property.
It's private property.
It's private
They have an
property.
easement through there, so it has nothing to do with the city of Winter Haven.
That was just the property behind Avenue Y?
The property that we're talking about right now behind Avenue Y is private property. The city received nothing from Duke.
I was told by T. Michael, I think that was what he said in the meeting we had, that the city had
That was
received.
Willowbrook Golf Course. We sold them an easement that traversed a portion of Willowbrook Golf Course that the city does own.
I was told that they were paid money for easement for Duke Energy to install those electrical poles in our neighborhood.
No, whoever owns the property today.
Well, the
is-
city,
would
it's
have
my
gotten paid.
understanding that the city owned the property behind Avenue Y,
No, ma'am.
No.
where they're doing the park now.
It's not being why.
It's on the other side.
I think she's believing the Lake Onine
Oh, Lake
project.
Conine.
Yeah.
That's on the other side of Lucerne Park Road.
Yes. And
I don't think we got money from Duke for that.
I would have to consult with our team, but I'm not sure the city got
okay,
paid for
because
that
I'm
easement.
interested in knowing what's going on. Is it gentrification? Is it, what's the future of that with the houses that's being proposed? You know, will our taxes go up? There's so many unanswered questions, and I understand clearly that this isn't the purpose of this meeting, but as a citizen, I'm interested in the details for this project. Because a lot of underhanding stuff can take place, and I don't want that.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else from the public? All right, seeing none, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing.
Chair,
Yep.
the applicant asked
Oh,
for
I'm sorry.
rebuttal.
I apologize. We're going to open the public portion again.
I will be brief,
That's
Mr.
fine.
Chair.
Thank you.
A lot of the comments that I heard and Mr. Labby and the rest of your staff really touched on it. A lot of them are really concurrency related, and we're not at that stage. We do have to do traffic studies. We have to do full engineering. We have to do full environmental. We got a lot of steps in the process to go before we really get to those kinds of things. But to the resident's point, if we can't meet concurrency, we can't develop. So if hypothetically, because it's certainly not my client's intent to develop apartments, but let's say hypothetically that there was an apartment developer and we came in and maxed it out, if we couldn't meet concurrency, you couldn't build it, right? So the concurrency controls the intensity of the development, your design standards control the intensity of the development, and based on our initial analysis of the site, it's looking like we're going to be in that 3-something range, which is very comparable to what was entitled on the property when it was within unincorporated Polk County.
Right. Yes, sir.
Bart, if you can.
Sure.
Explain concurrency to the layperson, because although we all understand it because we deal with it every single month and they deal with it every day, I don't think most people in the audience would understand.
So let's call utility, let's talk in just terms of utilities, okay? Let's say we were going to generate X number of thousands of gallons of sewage a day, and the city of Winter Haven's utility service did not have the ability to handle that much sewer. we would not be able to develop to that level of an intensity. We would be limited. We would be restricted on the intensity of the development, similarly with roads. And that's been the one that's been most talked about tonight, right? Roads. We will have to do a full detailed traffic analysis that determines traffic on the roads at the time of development, how many homes we anticipate or are planning and designing. And if the capacity on the road cannot handle that number of units, we will not be permitted by the folks sitting in this room to develop to that intensity. And that's probably the best way I can describe it. It's kind of the governor on the engine, if you will, when you think about intensity of development. So that's where a lot of those things are coming from. But we are, the other thing that I really just kind of wanted to point out and impacts on the lake and things of that nature, that's also, something that's important. Winter Haven is the chain of lakes city, right? Based on the topography of the site, just the initial information that we have, we will likely not be developing right up to the lake's edge obviously we have to abide by all of the city's setbacks and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know them all off the top of my head, but stormwater is likely to be on that end because the property is higher to the south and gets lower to the north, and we don't want to have to go in and regrade the entire site, right? So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So stormwater is likely to be on that end, which again, to the residents' questions, will preserve the lake's edge and remove the homes from that area. So we'll be set back on basically three sides from residential development and existing development, and everything on the east side of us, which is the Rowe family citrus, I forget exactly what variety it is, that's all RL3 as well, with some limited exception right along the lake. So we would be developing very comparable and compatible with the area and surrounding properties. So we are early. This is future land use and zoning. There's a lot more to do, but we would really request a favorable vote this evening on a recommendation from this board. So thank you. We'll stand for any additional questions you may have.
Thank you. All right, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Any additional questions from commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve case number P-24-30 and P-24-31, request by Peterson and Myers, PA, to assign neighborhood suburban future land use to an annexed parcel, general location, a parcel generally located north of Ware Avenue Northeast and south of Lake Smart. The area covered by this request is 56.74 plus or minus acres, as presented in the fact sheet.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Case is approved. Moving on, case number P-24-23, an administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 7, Section 21 through 439, relating to the submittal and review of engineered site plans.
Okay. I'm going to be presenting the next three items on the agenda, and this is kind of, and I'll pause for a minute. What we're doing is we're starting to go through the city's land development regulations. We're going to make some updates. We got 3 of them on the agenda tonight, and then we're going to have a few more on the agenda in August. Tonight, we're going to tackle site plan processes, platting, and also affordable housing. So this first request is P-24-23, and this is a staff's reworking of the city's site plan review requirements. They're required for basically any kind of development in the city, be it commercial, industrial, residential, institutional. These, originally started being reviewed in 1988 as part of the city's landscape code adoption, However, it was a pretty limited review that took place back in those days. In 2001, the city adopted Section 21-439, which adopted the more robust site plan review process that we are using today. Given that we've had over 20 years since this more robust site plan review process was adopted, there's been some significant changes on how processes work. The most notably is we have electronic reviews now as opposed to hand-drawn paper site plans. And so just by going to this process, we've already deviated quite a ways from what is actually written in the code. So staff has determined that we do need to make a significant update to the site plan review process. Major modifications include, we're going to define the 4 types of site plan reviews. There's a major, which is basically you have a raw piece of land and you're going to do something. A minor is generally a redevelopment site where you have just redeveloping expansion of a use, something like that. And then we have a less than minor, which is what I would term as where it's just strictly a change in use, and we're just reviewing it to make sure that what you have will work for your new use. And then finally, there's the utility only, and that really is for the site plans are located for projects outside the city limits. They're only receiving city utilities. So that's one of the major changes we're adding in is we're actually defining site plans. The next significant changes is we're eliminating the requirements to submit hard copies for reviews. Now it's going to be actually in the code to follow the process we've used since roughly about 2005, and that's using electronic software to do the reviews. All the comments are issued electronically, the plans are submitted electronically, and we only request paper copies at the very end for the final stamp. We're adding minimum standards for the preparation of a site plan. Right now, there's not really minimum standards of how the site plans be prepared, the size of the plans, what needs to be shown on them. We're adding those requirements to the code. And then we're also going to adjust the length of time that an approved site plan is valid. Right now, it's currently 12 months. A lot of times, a developer has other regulatory agencies they have to work with beyond the city, and we're finding more and more it's getting difficult for a project to get underway within that 12-month window. So we're going to increase the period of site plans valid approval to 18 months. And then we're also going to provide a specific ability to get a single 12-month extension. So really, once we approve a site plan, you really theoretically would have up to 30 months to get underway with construction. And those are the highlights of the main changes. While I didn't put it on the slides in front of you, the other significant area is we've added a provision in there to address projects that get started, then are abandoned partway through. So we're going to try to start to address those. An example of that is many of you have seen I'm going to call it the big iron wall that's up on US 17, where they started a project and it's just kind of sat dormant pretty much for a couple of years now. So we're going to build some policies in to deal with that when that situation arises that will allow us to use the code enforcement process to address those concerns. So that's kind of a nutshell summary of what we're doing. You'll look through the document, you'll see there's a lot of red, there's a lot of moving around, just a lot of rewriting of some terminology, but those are the main objectives of this change, is what is on your screen. So staff does recommend approval and forwarding of these changes to the City Commission for final action.
Does our engineer have any questions?
No, it looks fairly straightforward. Because I was looking through it as he was discussing it, and it looked. I think it'll be like anything else. Every other group will get used to the new standards, but it looks kind of in line with what you'd expect from like, and I appreciate that there's actual scales, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
If you get something and we all have to live with scales. If you don't
Yeah.
have a correct scale and you do a half size, full size, whatever, and it doesn't work, you really can't tell what's happening.
Yeah, we've had a lot of issues with that over the years, and a lot of those things listed in that section are things that just simply, they're not necessarily related to what they're doing.
Mhm.
They're just items we need on the site plan to actually efficiently review what they're doing.
Gotcha. Any additional comments or questions from commissioners?
No.
All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. All right, seeing none, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion. Any additional questions, or we'll entertain a motion?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion in favor of case number P-24-23, administrative request to amend the Winter Haven City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 7, Section 21-439, related to the submittal review of engineering site plans.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, it is approved. Moving on, case number P-24-32, an administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 3, Section 21 through 142, Chapter 21, Article 6, Section 315, and Chapter 21, Article 8, Division 3, relating to the addition of language supporting the development of affordable housing and cleanup of existing language.
Okay, this is an attempt to build some policies into the land development regulations to help facilitate affordable housing. Just a little background, the Sadowski Affordable Housing Act is approved by the Florida legislature and is also codified in Chapter 420.9076 of the Florida statutes, requires the development of affordable housing incentive plan by all local governments. Electing to participate in the housing production and preservation initiative authorized by the Act. In preparing the incentive plan, the city's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee is required to review 11 affordable housing incentives that are in your staff report, and identify the state of Florida and adopt those relevant to Winter Haven. To implement affordable housing strategies adopted in the incentive plan and the 2035 Winter Haven Comprehensive Plan, certain provisions of Chapter 21 of the Code of Ordinances need to be updated. Major changes include revising Section 21-142 to establish a reduced parking requirement for affordable housing. Essentially what we're doing is we're adopting essentially our lowest residential parking standard that would be for senior housing. It will be 1.5 spaces per unit. It's also similar to a couple of the affordable housing projects that we've recently developed in the city, and they submitted alternative parking analysis, and they were roughly in that 1.5 range per unit. So that's the first significant change. The second one is we're adding Section 21-464 to the code. This addresses expedited review and fee waivers for the development of projects containing affordable housing. Essentially, if you meet the criteria for an affordable housing project, the code will allow you to get what we call preferential treatment, expedited review of your project. And also, we're building in some fee waivers. Granted, the fees aren't tremendous for site plan review, but it does allow a waiver if you do 100% of your project as affordable housing. We have it where you'll have 100% of your fees be waived. If you do up to 60%, but not 100, you will waive 75% of the fees. And then if you do any kind of affordable housing up to that 60% threshold, we'll waive half the fee. And that's how we've got this built into this section right now. And then in addition to those changes, since we were into the sections that dealt with approvals, we made some changes to 21-461 and 21-462. This relates to the Planning Commission Development Special Magistrate. We just cleaned up the language a little bit. It had some outdated provisions in it, namely with just how members are appointed, specifically with the Development Special Magistrate. And, let's see here. As far as the planning commission's concerned, we simply just tried to more reflect what's in your bylaws. The election of officers in February each year. Language regarding to, if your seat has expired or resigned, you have the ability, if you wish, to continue until your successor is approved. And then we've added some language that's in your bylaws regarding attendance that match the bylaws. We actually put this into the code. And then that's really about all the changes to clean up. So moving forward. Like I said, the significant one for the development special magistrate was there was a provision they had to reside in the city or have a business in the city. We've removed that language, so that's, the magistrate's usually selected by a competitive bid process, and we felt that would be easier to move forward with that provision. So that concludes my presentation, and staff does recommend approval of this request.
Yes, sir.
I have one question.
Yes.
And this is, take it or leave it, but since we already have certain things that are defined in the bylaws, would it be simpler, except that you've already done this, to reference the bylaws, therefore it's only stated one time? Because that, I mean, I know that's what you're trying to do, is clean things up so it only says one thing, but maybe would it be simpler to strike that, in that way if the bylaws change over time? Because this is literally an act of, this, and then it's a lot more work for you guys. If things change and the bylaws change, because this, I think, has to go to the commission, right? And so if our rules change, I don't think the commission's necessarily going to have to make an act on that if we change our bylaws, right? However, on this, they would, right? And that's what I'm thinking, is it maybe easier if you just say, instead of stating specific items that are stated in the bylaws, say, in accordance with the bylaws, latest edition?
I mean, yeah, we could certainly go that route. I mean, if we get guidance from this body, we could rework this language to simply just defer to bylaws for some of these provisions and just delete a couple of these. For example,
Item 5 and 10, right?
Yeah, 5 and 10 will be one of them. I believe the others, 7 could theoretically be also deleted. Your bylaws address the election of officers as well.
Just trying to make it simpler.
Yeah.
For
And
you
we
guys,
could just
honestly.
we could replace those 3 with a singular number here that says that requires the planning commission to adopt and maintain bylaws.
Okay.
That works for me.
It could be
Yeah.
that simple.
So, thank you.
It's good commissioning.
Hey, that's my little golden nugget for the day. That's it. That's all you get, It's like, you guys do enough work, make it easy, right?
Any other comments from commissioners on this item? No? All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion. Any comments from the public? All right, seeing none, we will close the public portion, reopen the planning portion. Any additional comments? We'll leave that to Craig.
I will, this is going to be a tough one. It's going to take me a minute to get there, but I would like to make a motion in favor of case number P-24-32, administrative request to amend the Winter Haven City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 3, Section 21-142, and Chapter 21, Article 7, Division 3, related to the addition of additional language supporting the development of affordable housing and cleanup of existing language with modifications to revise Section 21-142B. No, I'm sorry, it's not B.
462.
It's not, yeah, I'm sorry.
461, excuse me.
Yep, strike that. Section 21-461B, deleting items 5, 7, and 10, replacing with the planning commission shall maintain bylaws adopted by the commission and as presented by staff.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, that mouthful was approved. Moving on, case number P-24-33, administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 2, Section 2183, Article 6, Division 1, and Article 7, Division 5, for the purpose of revising language relating to permitting model homes and establishing a preliminary plat approval process.
Okay. I'll try to move through this one quickly. This past spring, the Florida Legislature passed Senate Bill 812, which subsequently signed into law by the governor, and it becomes effective October 1st of 2024. Senate Bill 812 requires the city to create a process to allow model homes to be constructed on up to 50% of the lots in the subdivision prior to approval of a final plat. Currently, we allow 10%, so this is a significant increase in what we currently are allowed or what we currently permit. In addition, addressing model homes, Senate Bill 812 requires the city to reintroduce the preliminary plat to the subdivision approval process to account for issuance of model home permits prior to approval of a final plat. Provisions of Chapter 21, Article 6 relating to concurrency and public service allocation are also required to be addressed. Major modifications include revising Section 2183 to allow for model homes to be constructed on up to 50% of the building lots, and adding more detailed standards relating to temporary sales offices in residential subdivisions. Establishes requirements for the preliminary plat and for City Commission review and approval of the preliminary plat in Article 7, Section 21394, and updates Article 6, Section 21315 to provide for concurrency at the preliminary plat approval stage and addresses outdated level of service requirements. Then staff does recommend approval and forwarding this request to the City Commission for final action.
I think my only question is this intended for, I guess, smaller subdivisions where there may only be, I don't know, 10 or 20 lots to begin with?
It's for all subdivisions.
No, I
No.
know. It's for all subdivisions,
Yeah.
but I mean, what was?
They're going to put 100 model homes on a
Yeah.
200 unit?
I believe this is the state's intent to move the production of housing faster. So
okay.
I believe,
Just wondering what the
I
impetus
would
there.
be thinking the other direction. It's likely in your large subdivisions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Any additional comments? No? All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing, open the public portion of the hearing. Anybody from the public? All right, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion. Any additional questions, comments, or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve case number P-24-33, administrative request to amend the Winter Haven Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Article 2, Sections 21 through 83, Article 6, Division 1, and Article 7, Division 5, for the purposes of revising language relating to permitting model homes and establishing a preliminary plat approval process as stated in the fact sheet.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. Other business, comments from staff.
Okay, the only one that I'm going to address is, excuse me, is the items from your June Planning Commission meeting. And specifically, it's the PUD request that you heard and recommended approval at your June, I believe it was 5th meeting date. And there's been some discrepancy on the notification. While it's been agreed that staff followed what's in the code, it was determined that it would be best to re-notify this request and bring it back forward through the complete approval process.
We're talking Spring Lake,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Which would start with you at your August 6th meeting. The belief is we want to, there was some individuals that felt they weren't properly noticed. We felt this is the safe process to ensure that it's, shall we say, less likely to be appealed in the future, based on what could theoretically be a technicality. So it was felt that it's safer just to send this back forward. So it's going to come back to you in your August 6th meeting.
I remember that.
And I believe that was because it came before prior, and then we had to name the date, right, that it was moving to, and.
No, this one didn't get tabled.
It didn't?
No, we approved it.
Actually,
That's what I thought.
Actually, we did
Okay.
do that. We did continue it.
It was, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
It was
we
not.
To a
did
date
make-
determined.
We took
Oh,
date
okay.
determined, and then you guys recommended approval, and then it was going to the city commission.
right.
So the only thing that we're renoticing is, it says if it's around a lake, then you notice the parcel that abuts the lake, which we did, which is a common owned of some of the condo.
Right.
We are going to notice all of the individual condo owners
Units.
as well as just an extra layer of notification.
Yeah, I remember.
So it'll
that.
come back to you.
Gotcha.
Sounds
Nothing's
like
changing of the request,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just
no.
being renoticed and reheard.
So that'll be a nice long meeting.
Yes, it's going to be a very long one on that.
Yeah, because we are,
Bring in some
Probably-
more seats right here?
we're going to be doubling the number of notices that went out on that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I think I'm gonna be gone that week.
No, that's it.
I had
Yeah.
one quick thing that and I alluded to it earlier in the meeting, but because some of you were involved in some of the hearings, involved in some of these developments that have occurred. I mentioned the top three taxable valued properties in Winter Haven, just came out for 2024, and it was Florida Can Manufacturing, which I believe some of you were on the commission when we went through that PUD zoning process to rezone that city property to industrial that facilitated that project to move forward. That's the number one taxable value property in the city of Winter Haven right now, generates the most revenue for the city,
More than Legoland?
more than Legoland.
Yeah.
Number two, and I just blanked on what
Might have
number
been
two was.
Legoland.
I think Legoland was number three,
You said the spec building was number two.
the warehouse. So the 1.2 million square foot warehouse at the industrial logistics center.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Intermodal logistics center, just south of Florida Can. That's the second highest taxable value property in the city,
Yeah.
and it's not even occupied yet.
Right.
It's a vacant spec warehouse. And number three is Legoland, which, we went through the process for Peppa Pig and the Legoland Beach Retreat, and then many years ago, the hotels that were built on property. And so those are the kind of projects from an economic development standpoint that we've been really working hard on, not just staff, but city commission, and you guys were involved in the process. And they're coming to fruition, I would say. We're bearing the fruits today. So it's just kind of really interesting.
It's a
to see
good
that.
update.
Are we off the record yet?
No.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, recollection, when we were in just absolute tough times, I think the city sold, what was it, 1,200 acres?
For the ILC?
Yeah.
It was about
Yeah.
1,200, I
It
believe.
was 1,200 of the
About right.
1,600 acres they owned down there?
That's about right.
And then that's what became now the most valuable property, I guess, in the city, which is, great. It's, instead of being part of a wastewater plant, it's making money.
It was a spray field.
That's awesome. Any additional comments from staff?
No.
Comments from commissioners?
I have one, just more like an inquiry or question. So the majority of our issues that come up is about traffic. Is there any other way for residents or people of concern to get information other than just being told here? Is there a link on the
Yeah.
website? Is there a redirection? Because a lot of these questions could be answered prior to.
Yeah, I would say, one, if you guys get questioned outside of a meeting, you can always refer them to us, and we're happy to have those conversations with citizens. Two, I would say, anybody that, expresses those kind of concerns or growth concerns in general, encourage them to look on the website for our city university program that we do. once a
Applications
year.
are open currently.
Applications are open now.
I was part of first class.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah.
You were in there.
Yeah.
I think that there's, and we keep trying to update that and kind of get better every year at it. I think you were in the first class?
Yep.
Okay, so it's a little better now.
Yep.
Yeah. So we try to get a little more in depth and a little better in our presentation every year. But people will get the kind of the inside of why we can and can't say yes or say no to certain things and how growth management works. And I think that helps. The more people we can get involved in that way, just education, really.
Mhm. I was going to offer too, one, the city did a comprehensive plan on how they should develop their transportation, but two, TPO, Transportation Planning Organization, plans all of, and it's more Polk County based as opposed to the state, right? Or D1, which is where we're in. But that's the other, they tie into FDOT's work plan, which is District 1. We're in District 1 here.
I just think it's more so that, for those that keep up with it.
Yep.
I read up on it, I may go to it, but I guess some of the average folks may not necessarily know where to go to get
Right.
more detailed information other than coming to this, where they think this is the final.
Yeah.
The forum for it, right, yeah.
So and I would say that locally, I think the Transportation Planning Organization is their best resource, is to point them. Only because it's more, they look at every community and how they're growing, and we have our own liaison, but everybody has theirs. We work with Ryan, and he tries to fund projects, and most of our downtown projects that we're doing were partially funded by Ryan's group. I mean, well, he got the money for us from the state, right? Ryan didn't pay for it, but I mean, he's a good guy. But but yeah, I mean, we couldn't and wouldn't do what we're doing without the state funding.
Yeah, and I can add more to that. The TPO offers what they call the Transportation Advisor Network, and that's for any resident can sign up. And it's basically a discussion forum of anything transportation related. And that would be a wonderful resource for
And
somebody.
it seems like Andy's group is always looking
Yeah.
for people on their board.
But
We
they push
have
a
a
lot of-
multimodal transportation advisory commission.
Oh,
I'm just liaison on it, but I know you know that. but-
I've seen them all. I'm aware. I just want to make sure that the community is aware.
Oh, yeah, no,
But
100%.
I would recommend the Advisor Network. They push a lot of information out through that from the TPO.
I think the toughest thing is that people, they see the traffic and it's bad and they think it should be fixed in a day and they don't realize it takes years to do that once a project has been identified. So it's just tough to explain.
Yeah, I-4 is still going on.
I was just gonna reference I-4. 20 years.
Yeah, they're now stretching through beyond the ultimate areas, and that's still going to be quite a while.
Any additional comments from planning commissioners? Hey, next to the Roman numerals, little parentheses with a number in there.
I'm sitting there going, okay, Bobby.
You're catching me up every once in a while.
Get you a highlighted copy.
Just bigger fonts.
I need the first grade version. Comments from the public? No? All right.